So we're pretty much halfway through the 2021 NBA season. The All-Star voting is about to come out. We're going to know who the starters are going to be, the reserves are going to be at the end of this week. And I'm going to be giving you guys my All-Star picks for the Eastern Conference, for the Western Conference in today's video. So it was a really tough year to make the All-Star team, especially in the Eastern Conference. I'm going to be giving you guys my starters, so the 2 guards and the 3 forward spots, 2 guard bench spots, 3 forward bench spots, and then 2 wild card spots. So we'll have 12 players to announce per team, and I will give my honorable mentions and why I left them off and who I would be like, all right, you could throw them in there and I wouldn't be too upset. We'll start off with the easier conference in my eyes, the Western Conference. So my starting 5, it was pretty easy besides 1 guard spot. So Steph Curry, an absolute lock as one of the guard spots. He's averaging 30 points, 5 rebounds, about 6 assists a night, is leading the Warriors to a 15-13 record, which is exceeding expectations in some eyes. Shooting 50 from the field, 43 from downtown, 93 from the line. This dude is 100% an all-star starter in the Western Conference. Then it was tough. It became either a debate of Damian Lillard or Luka Doncic as my number 2 starter. I gave the edge to Luka Doncic. Now, I know the Portland Trail Blazers have a better record than Dallas Mavericks, but the All-Star game really isn't about team success. It never really was. Trae Young was an all-star starter last year. If you're looking for awards that are pure on team success as well as individual output, those are your all-NBA teams. That actually takes into account team success throughout the year. All-Star games, it's not really to who's just putting up the best numbers and who's being like the most entertaining player to watch throughout the year. And Dame definitely checks off both those boxes. I'm just going to say Luka is my pick because it can go either way. Luka's averaging 29 points, 8.5 rebounds, 9.5 assists, and he's going to be coming in as my second guard spot. So now onto my forward spot, number 1. And I'm going to have Nikola Jokic, who is an MVP candidate right now for the Denver Nuggets. I just don't know where this Nuggets would be without Nikola Jokic this season. He's pretty much solidified himself as the best passing big man of this generation, like no doubt about it. The dude's averaging 26 points, like 11 rebounds, 9 assists. The Nuggets are 4 games over 500. They're 15-11 right now. And he's shooting 85% from the line, 56 from the field, and 38 from 3. These are literally video game numbers Jokic is putting up. He's a top 5 MVP guy. You might even say he's a top 3 MVP guy, and he's my forward spot, number 1. The next forward spot is an easy one in my eyes. LeBron James from the LA Lakers, the reigning NBA champions. They're the 2 seed in the West at the moment with a 21-7 record. LeBron is 36 years old, and he's putting up 25 points, 8 assists, and 8 rebounds a night. He's also doing that while being really efficient as well. 49 from the field, 38 from 3, which is spectacular for LeBron, and he's doing this pretty much without Anthony Davis for a little bit of it. So he's been so impressive this year. I think he's my number 2 guy in my MVP voting behind somebody we'll get to in the Eastern Conference. But yeah, no doubt about it. Starter 100%. And Kawhi Leonard is my 5th and final starter here in the Western Conference. Another no-brainer one in my opinion. The Clippers are 21-8. Kawhi's putting up 27, 6, and 5 a night and still being one of the best defenders in the NBA. I still think he's not getting a lot of love for MVP. Now, I'm not saying he should be in front of LeBron or Jokic in like the Western Conference for those guys, but I think I would maybe vote Kawhi over possibly Curry in the MVP voting if the season ended today. Either way though, those are my Western Conference starters: Steph, Luka, LeBron, Jokic, and Kawhi Leonard. Now on to the bench. So you already know one of my bench spots, the one player I thought about the most of putting into the starting 5, Damian Lillard of the Portland Trail Blazers. Trailblazers are 16-10. He's averaging 29 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists this season, while also shooting 38 from 3 and 93 from the line. Like I said, Lillard is that one guy that I was like, all right, you could put him in the starting 5 and I would not be upset. Not over Steph though, because then I would be upset, but over Luka I'd be perfectly fine with. He's my guard number 1 off the bench. We'll have one more, and then maybe in the wild cards as well. And then my guard 2 off the bench is Donovan Mitchell of the league's best Utah Jazz at the moment I'm recording this. Donovan Mitchell's averaging 24 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists on the best team in the NBA. You could even give him a case for being an all-star starter of Luka Doncic. But like I said, really team success does not incorporate itself too much into all-star voting, so he's going to be my guard number 2. And then my 2 forwards are both on LA teams. Forward number 1 is going to be Paul George of the Clippers. Like Kawhi, he's also been dealing with a little injury bug and they had a COVID scare as well. He's averaging 24 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists on the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. He's been phenomenal this year, super efficient as well. He's a 50-40-90 guy at the moment, shooting 47% from 3, 50 from the field, and 90 from the line. Just incredible stuff out of PG. And then then my other forward spot is somebody that I will definitely not, in my eyes, be playing before the All-Star break. And there is some talks about that. He could be out for a long time, at least until like April or possibly the end of March. And that is Anthony Davis. He's played 23 games so far. He's not been the Anthony Davis we have seen the last like 7 years, but he's still been phenomenal this year. 22.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, 3 assists. His defense has dropped off. Oh, not like dropped off in a bad way, just dropped off where he's just not been the elite defender he has been the last couple years, but it's mainly because he's just been hit so hard with injuries this year. Like I said, I don't know if he's going to be playing before April. Like, he might be out with this Achilles injury for a little bit, but I think he'll still be voted as an All-Star and deserves to be in the Western Conference. And my final forward spot in the Western Conference, it came down between two Pelicans players, Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. I ended up going with Zion to get his first All-Star appearance. And if you gave the spot to Brandon Ingram, I would not be upset whatsoever. Zion's just a monster from the field. He's shooting 60%, scoring 24.5 points a night, 7 rebounds as well, and this dude is 20 years old. He's 20 years old. I'm 21, and this is a 20-year-old grown man dropping 24 a night on NBA talent. Absurd. I'm putting him in the All-Star game. So now on to the 2 wildcard spots. I actually have a guard and a forward in this. The first one is going to be Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns. In the last 3, maybe 4 years, this has definitely been Devin Booker's worst season out of those 4 offensive output-wise. But the Suns are 17-9. They're doing fantastic this year. And he's still averaging about 24.5 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and shooting 49% from the field, 36 from 3, and you could definitely look at maybe like Chris Paul. That's why his offensive numbers have gone down just a little bit, because last year I think was the best season of his career, but I'm still giving him an all-star appearance because the Suns have been so good this year, and he's been still really good, and that's why I'm putting him in. And the other wild card spot, man, it came down to like 3 real players, but there's 2 ones that were hurt that could also have been in there. It was tough figuring out this last wild card spot. I gave it to Rudy Gobert. The man is averaging 14 points, 13 rebounds, and almost 3 blocks a night on the best team record-wise in the NBA, and is probably the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year once again. And that's why I gave him the nod. He was an All-Star last year. I'm giving it to him this year. Other guys that I was definitely considering, like CJ McCollum definitely would have been here if he didn't get hurt. Christian Wood probably would have been here if he didn't get hurt as well. Like, Wood's only played 17 games. It's really hard to put somebody in the All-Star game with that small of a sample size. I know he's been great this year, and when he comes back from the injury, he still could get most improved. I just didn't think 17 games was enough. I would like to say at least 20 I would be like comfortable putting someone in. And then 4 other players I definitely considered putting into the Western Conference All-Stars were DeMar DeRozan of the San Antonio Spurs, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the OKC Thunder, De'Aaron Fox of the Sacramento Kings, and somebody I already mentioned, Brandon Ingram of the New Orleans Pelicans. Now on to the Eastern Conference. So the Eastern Conference was way tougher in my opinion to pick than the Western Conference. My first guard as a starter in the East was the easiest one in my eyes, and that is Bradley Beal. I know the Wizards have not been good this year. They're 8-17, but Trae Young was an all-star starter last year, so I don't care about that argument. He's averaging a league's best 33 points a night, getting 5 rebounds, about 4.5 assists, and being pretty efficient at that with that high scoring output with 47% field goal percentage, 34% three-point percentage, and 89% from the line. He's an all-star starter in my eyes. This was tough. There was about 4 players that I considered for the other Eastern Conference guard number 2 spot. A player in Atlanta, a player in Boston, a player in Chicago maybe, and then 2 players from Brooklyn. I ended up choosing a player from Brooklyn, and I ended up going with Kyrie Irving. Now, I almost chose Harden over Kyrie for games played because Kyrie had that saga where he didn't end up playing and not reporting to the Nets, but he's only played 3 less games than James Harden because Harden had his issues in Houston before he got traded, and Kyrie has been phenomenal in those 20 games. That's what I put my threshold at 20 games, and he's been averaging 28 points, 6 assists. He's a 50, 40, 90 guy at the moment. And if you wanted to put any of those other players I mentioned in the starting 5, that is fine by me. And then like the Western Conference, the 3 starting forward spots in the East were super easy to pick. Up first, the second Brooklyn Nets player here. Yeah, I have Kevin Durant. Now, he has played only 19 games. I know, but you have to put Kevin Durant in your starting 5. 29 points, 7 rebounds, about 5 assists a night, and someone who's shooting over 40% from 3 and is coming off the Achilles injury. Incredible story. He's an all-star starter. He's probably top 5 in MVP voting at the moment, but he's had COVID problems, which have been annoying because he already got it in the summer, but obviously he can get it again. But he played a game. They took him out of that game after said he was not already going to play that game. Didn't really make a lot of sense. He's currently out with the hamstring injury. He would have probably played around 25, 26 games. but it's unfortunately he is not. Next up, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks as my forward 2 spot here in the starting 5. The reigning MVP, the reigning 2-time MVP. He's averaging 28 points, 11.5 rebounds, 5.7 assists, 56 from the field. Yes, his 3-point shooting and free throw percentage have not been very good. He's shooting below 30% from 3, 70% from the line. He needs to work on that. So he's still an all-star starter. Like, his numbers have been incredible. He's the best player on that Bucks team that's doing really good. He's my forward starter 2 spot. And then the most notable starting forward spot here is going to be my number 1 guy for MVP right now, Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers. Embiid's averaging just under 30 points and 11 rebounds a night. He's kind of close to 50-40-90 as well. He's shooting 54 from the field, 40 from 3, and 85% from the line. He's been incredible as a rim protector for the Sixers this year. Ben Simmons plays so much better when Embiid is out there. And oh yeah, they're the best team in the Eastern Conference. Now on to the bench. So these 2 guards here, I was like, you could definitely throw them in the starting 5 and I'd be okay with that. First one is James Harden of the Brooklyn Nets, who I mentioned before. His scoring has gone down. Obviously, playing with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving is not going to average 35 a night. He is averaging 11.8 assists with the Nets, which would be a career high for him. And the man is just efficient. 47 from the field, 38 from 3, 85+% from the line. He's an all-star reserve guy. You could even put him as a starter and I wouldn't be upset. And then my other Eastern Conference bench guard will be Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks. 26 points, 9 assists, 36 from 3, 88% from the line. Now, his field goal percentage hasn't been the best, but I think he's an all-star here. Now, there will be a wild card guard guy. Actually, 2 of my wild cards, I'll give a spoiler, are guards. You could put him at the guard number 2 spot. I wasn't really ranking the bench guys at all like that. And then, boy, the 3 forward bench spots were so tough. At least 2 of them were. One was pretty easy, and that was Jason Tatum of the Celtics. He's played over 20 games this year, 25 points, 7 rebounds, 4.5 assists, shooting 40% from downtown, 87% from the line, just improving as a defensive player each year of his career. He's my forward spot number 1 for the Eastern Conference off the bench. And then these other 2 ones were very, very, very tough. So the second one, I gave it to Nikola Vucevic. Yes, I think he needs to be an all-star of the Orlando Magic. So like the Wizards for Bradley Beal, the Magic have not been very good this year, but they have been decimated by injuries. Jonathan Isaac, Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony just got hurt. Aaron Gordon is out 4 to 6 weeks with the ankle injury at the moment. But Nikola Vucevic has been keeping that team alive. I'm not saying he should be an MVP candidate, but maybe he should get some love there, because if he wasn't on this team, the Magic would have been by far the worst team in the NBA record-wise. He's averaging 24 points, 11 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shooting 48 from the field, 43 from downtown, 81% from the line. If there was any player that would be a snub here, I think I'd be most upset if Nikola Vucevic wasn't a 2021 All-Star. And oh my God, this last forward spot, I already mentioned, my 2 wild cards are guards. So this is the last forward spot here, and it was between 5 guys. Just kidding, 6 players. So I'll get to the honorable mentions after I give out my wild cards. And I ended up going with Bam Adebayo of the Miami Heat. I wanted to put a Heat in, and I was definitely choosing Bam over Jimmy Butler. Butler has only played 15 games this year anyway. He was even in my honorable mentions. Bam averaging a career high about 20 points a night, 9.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and Jimmy Butler was out with injury, COVID problems. If it wasn't for Bam, that team would have completely fallen apart. He even shoots 84% from the line. Bam has been so good this year, and he should be an all-star. I wouldn't be super upset if he didn't make it, because I said 6 honorable mentions. I have 7 forwards that I'm going to get to in a minute. It was that loaded here. So my first wildcard spot for the Eastern Conference is going to be Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics, who was just putting up monster numbers while Jason Tatum was out due to COVID. He's still averaging 26 points and 6 rebounds throughout the season, and shooting 51% from the field and 40% from 3. And then the final Eastern Conference All-Star spot is going to go to somebody that I've been very harsh on for the last couple years, but this year, I think he deserves an All-Star spot, and that is Zach LaVine of the Chicago Bulls. The man is averaging a career high 28 points a night, 5.5 rebounds, 5 assists, while also being so efficient as well. 51 from the field, 43% from 3, and 85 from the line. He's got to be an all-star. I've always said that Zach LaVine can never be the one on a team to lead in offense to being above average, and he really hasn't done that yet. But still, I think at this point, it's just the Bulls itself. It's not a Zach LaVine problem. It's the Chicago Bulls overall roster problem, and I know I'm probably late to the party. I still don't think he should have been an All-Star last year, but this year, he 1000% deserves it, and he was the man I think that could also be an All-Star starter as well, because he's putting up the numbers. If you don't want to give it to one of the Nets players, because there's 2 players on that team that like, oh, Harden or Kyrie, why not just give it to Zach LaVine? I would give it to Zach LaVine over Trae Young and Jaylen Brown at this moment, and I've changed my mind on that too, because I was always adamant on Jaylen Brown starting, and then I was very adamant on Trae Young starting, but the All-Star voting ends this week. I think it's time we give Zach LaVine some love. I think I would be upset if he doesn't make the All-Star team, and a lot of people that are NBA fans would be very upset if he's not an All-Star this March. So, yeah, you want to know the 7 honorable mentions. So, one of them was Jimmy Butler. He wasn't really going to be in. Domantas Sabonis of the Pacers. Man, it killed me not throwing him in here. It really did. I ended up choosing Bam and Vucevic over Domantas Sabonis, because I don't think Sabonis deserves to make it over Jaylen Brown and Zach LaVine. Also had someone that's going to hurt me not making the All-Star game, Julius Randle of my New York Knicks. He's been incredible this year. The Knicks would not be one game under 500 if it weren't for Julius Randle. He's been phenomenal this year, improving his shooting, improving his passing ability. It's going to hurt when he's an All-Star snub. I think he will be. I'd be very shocked if he makes it. Tobias Harris. The Sixers are the #1 team in the East. I don't have Tobias or Ben Simmons on my All-Star team. Yeah, Simmons could be an honorable mention, but I think Tobias deserves it a little bit more than Ben. Yeah, no 2 Sixers this year. That was kind of tough. Chris Middleton as well. This man has been so efficient this year, still putting up great points. And like I said, 50, 40, 90 once again. A good defender on a really good Bucks team. There was just so much more talent. And I wanted to give Vucevic 1 player on the Magic over 2 players on the Bucks and give it to Middleton. I'm sorry. Jeremy Grant, who's been most improved player this year, and who knows how long Christian Wood's going to be out for still. Jeremy Grant might be good. He might run away with that award this year, and I wanted to give him some All-Star consideration. I don't think he makes it, though. Pascal Siakam, I think it's too little, too late. He struggled too much to start the year. He's been very good as of late, but I don't think he makes the All-Star game. And then Gordon Hayward as well. He's been doing so well for the Charlotte Hornets, being that #1 option and playing the best basketball he has done since Utah. So those were pretty much all forward guys. A couple guards that could be honorable mentions. You got Terry Rozier of the Hornets, you got Malcolm Brogdon of the Pacers, and you got Fred VanVleet of the Raptors, and Ben Simmons if you're going to count him as a guard. So yeah, those are my 2021 All-Stars. It was very tough for the Eastern Conference. Now, if there was anybody I mentioned in the honorable mentions, I would be perfectly fine if they made the All-Star game. There's just so many good players. There's about 17 per conference that deserve to make the All-Star game, but you got to cut it down to 12. So there's going to be a lot of snubs this year. People are going to be very upset. I know. I just wanted to give you my 24 players that I think should make it. So yeah, if you disagreed with me, let me know down below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. I do have an all NFL Madden channel that I just started. That link will be in the description below if you want to check it out. I'd be really appreciative of that. And yeah, we'll see who's a snub. We'll see who's not. I'll be on the lookout for that. You can catch me on Twitter. Link to that is in the description. I'll be giving you my full reactions to the All-Star teams when they come out. I love you guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.